What's up, YouTube? This is Thomas coming back at you again with another video this week. This week we got a few things to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about is the whole impeachment hoax inquiry or hearings or whatever. Now, all the witnesses that they have brung forth, every single one has literally said there was no crime committed. No quid pro quo. And then they changed it. The Democrats changed it. There was no extortion. Again, the Democrats changed it a third time to bribery, and there was no bribery. The Democrats keep changing the crime. You know, it's getting a little ridiculous. And I agree with the Republicans. It's ridiculous that they won't bring in Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and and get this settled with them actually committing crimes. The Bidens committed a crime, an actual crime, and yet they keep going after Trump knowing that there's no crime. Joe Biden literally, on video, it's on YouTube, on video, shows that he committed a crime against Ukraine. And, and that, the whole thing is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Biden's committed a crime. That's a well-known fact. Yet they won't bring in the whistleblower or, the Bidens in for questioning. Because it's all fake. It's just a way to stall time and try to get Trump impeached instead of actually doing things that Congress needs to be getting done. The Democrats are getting desperate. And I just think it's all misuse of power. Anyways, we're going to move on to something more realistic. First thing I want to talk to you about is a television show that was done in the 90s. It's called The Pretender. I just binge watched. There were 4 seasons. I just binge watched all 4 seasons. The Pretender, it's not a bad show. It's pretty decent for the most part. Yeah, it's a little campy, a little cheesy in some parts, but otherwise the show's actually pretty good. You basically have a kid who was kidnapped at birth for being a genius. Or, well, he wasn't not at birth, actually. But he was a little kid. He was kidnapped because he was a genius. And then he was taught how to be able to pretend to be anyone. And he was kidnapped by a company that calls themselves the Center, which is like a think tank, a research facility, or supposedly, but they're into some various dirty crap. So anyway, they would run him through simulations where he would have to pretend to be somebody else. And then they'd ask him, various questions like, what would you do? How would you do this? Or how would you do that? And then they'd use what he told him in practical use, in real life. Well, eventually, the first one they have is, his name is Jared. Jared grows up. He eventually figures out how to escape the center. He gets out, and then he goes around helping people that's had tragedies or something going on in their life, solving murders or something like that, by pretending to be somebody else. And then the sinner, you know, they constantly hunting after him. Well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on with the sinner and Jared, and you eventually find that out. But the show was pretty good. However, they did 2 final movies, one in 2001, I believe, and then another one not too long after that. In both the movies, they again left it off as a cliffhanger, so they never finished the series, which really disappointed me. It really irritated me. I was kind of peeved because there was no ending. They just left it off. Other than that, it's a good show. You should probably check it out. If you like some mystery, crime kind of stuff, it's pretty interesting. I gave it 2 thumbs up, even though they didn't have an ending to the series. So next thing we're going to talk about is the movie Ma, M-A, Ma. Now, I just watched this movie. What I got to say is, it's okay, I guess. It was really slow. It took forever for her to actually wig out and start trying to kill people. Basically, it's one of those classic stories where, you know, they're hurt as like a teenager or a young kid by fellow classmates, and then they grow up with all this resentment and hatred for them, and it's time to get revenge. They eventually wig out, and it's time to get revenge. That's basically all it's about. She got hurt when she was, you know, in school, and then now she's grown up, and now she's meeting all these old classmates, and it's bringing back all the memories, and she decides to get revenge on these kids and their parents. Well, I didn't understand the whole concept of why she right off the bat, she's buying alcohol for these kids and then hanging out with them and stuff, you know, drinking and all that kind of crap at her own house, while she is abusing her daughter by locking her up and pumping medicines into her that she don't really need. She keeps telling her she's sick when she's not. She works at a veterinarian clinic, so she's able to get these drugs. But anyways, it took forever to get to the point where she actually starts to flip out on him. I really didn't recognize hardly any of the actors in the movie. The only one I really recognized was the one that played Mercedes or whatever. I've seen her before, but the rest of them I really didn't know. I didn't even know the black woman in it. I didn't even know who she was. Like I said, it's an okay movie for that kind of thing, but it wasn't scary. It was kind of dull and boring. But if you're into that crap, have fun with it, enjoy it. I'm not a real big fan of a lot of the movies today, or horror flicks for that matter. They make way too many of them. Alright, the next thing we're going to talk about is I just got done playing a particular video game for the PS1. It was called Beyond the Beyond. The dumbest title, one of the dumbest titles I've ever heard. It's an RPG, supposed classic. However, I didn't think anything was really classy about it at all. It was rather dull and boring. They have a system on the fight when you're fighting or whatever. If you mash down on the X button constantly, you know, you might get it to do a double attack or guard or counter attack. You know, it's just luck, you know, if you press the right amount of times or something like that. I mean, you really have to mash the X button. It gets really old really quick doing that. They separate the life point. They have this system where you have your HP, but you also have what's called life points. And if you get knocked out, your character becomes groggy, and then it uses life points to come back out of being unconscious or whatever, which was kind of dumb. They just should have left it at HP. It's kind of retarded. My main complaint about this game was the simple fact that through the very first half of the game, practically almost the entire game, your main warrior, your best fighter, is cursed. And the only way to get rid of the curse is you have to go through all kinds of crap just to get him uncursed. And then the rest of the game, you know, takes like 30 minutes and then you're done. It's a little bit ridiculous. This game, I give it 2 thumbs down. The magic was bad. There wasn't any really good magic. It takes forever to level up your characters. I don't mind grinding, but this was horrible. Oh, and you literally could not take 2 or 3 steps without getting in a fight. Like, you couldn't walk for like, you know, 15-20 seconds and then get in a fight. It's literally every 3 steps you're fighting throughout the entire game. The encounter rate is just ridiculous. So yeah, I definitely don't recommend this game. It's terrible. The story was terrible. And one pet peeve I really have about RPGs is when they don't give you any real good clues on to where you're supposed to go next. And this game was really bad. I have to keep looking through the walkthrough online just to see where the hell I was supposed to go next, because it doesn't tell you, and there's no way to tell. There's no world map, so you can't tell where you're supposed to go. I mean, there is a world map, but you don't get it till way later in the game, and all it does is show you a dot of where you're at. That's it. It don't show where anything is at or nothing like that. So it was terrible. Bad game. Horrible game. Alright, movie holics, let's move on to your B-rated movies. We're back to Horror Week. So this time we're doing some horror flicks. Both of these are actually slasher movies. I am absolutely not a big fan of all of slasher movies. I don't mind a few horror flicks. I'm not big on them. But slasher movies are just so dull and boring because it's been done over and over and over again. However, these were kind of almost like satires or parodies on slasher flicks. The first one is called The Slumber Party Massacre, which was done in 1982. It starred Michelle Michaels and Robin Still. And it made about $4 million at the box office. It wasn't really a big hit. Hence a B-rated movie. Now this movie was actually written and directed by women. And it was supposed to be kind of a parody on slasher flicks. The plot of the story is basically the title of the movie. And some girls on a basketball team decide to have a slumber party, and throughout the whole movie they're getting attacked by some Looney Tune with a drill. The movie doesn't explain who the Looney guy is or the Looney Tune is. I've heard or I've read on some comments on the movie from like movie sites and stuff. It's supposed to be some escaped in asylum, a mental patient or whatever. But it doesn't state that in the movie. You don't even know that. You see the guy's face throughout the whole movie. There's no mask. There is some TNA in this movie. But basically, at the very beginning, you have a basketball team, takes a shower. There's a big shower scene, nudity in it. And then they go over to this one girl's place because they'd been invited to a slumber party over at her place. So that's basically the whole movie. There is a scene, and it's kind of retarded, but where the girls are changing and you get to see their breasts or whatever. Woohoo! And the boy, there's a couple boys that's like being peeping toms through the window, checking them out. I mean, it's just classic 80s, like Porky's and stuff like that, you know, where they're being peeping toms. But there's this one girl that they don't really invite, I guess, because they're jealous of her being very beautiful or something like that. She's better looking. And all the guys seem to really like her or some shit. But what's funny though is she literally lives straight across the street from her. I mean, literally straight across the street from her. But the whole time these girls are getting killed, they even have a pizza delivery boy who gets killed too. A couple of the guys try to sneak in on a party. They get killed as well. Anyways, you know, the whole time all this is going on next door, or across the street. Sorry, not next door, but across the street. The other chick, the one that didn't go, she's like got her TV blaring. She's not listening. She can't hear what's going on over there. Her little sister wants to go over there and check out what's going on. I'm telling you right now, little sister was not 14. That girl had to be 18 or older. Anyways, and she sneaks over there to find out what's going on at the party. And then the girl, the older girl, the older sister, you know, she's babysitting. She has to go over there and find out what's going on, where she went. They run across the murder, and they eventually kill him. the girl, mainly the girl that wasn't really invited, that they were all jealous of. They kill him, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of slasher movies. This wasn't really funny, really all that much. Not really. It wasn't scary for sure. The guy who was doing the killing, he kind of looked like he was doped up, like he was really high on something. The only thing memorable about the movie, which I've seen the cover 100 times, I never did watch it. You know, like I said, I'm not real big into slasher movies. However, the memorable thing about it was the drill. The killer runs around with this drill and he drills everybody every time he kills them. And I watched it. It was okay again. Not really my style. But if you're in the slasher flicks, you might actually like this one. The acting wasn't horrible. Surprisingly, it was actually okay. Except for the little sister. The little sister, oh my gosh, she was horrible. Acting was horrible. It was terrible. But the rest of them were okay. Everyone else in the movie. If you're into that kind of thing, go check it out. But it wasn't for me. It didn't really do it for me. The next movie we're going to talk about is another 80s classic. And some of you might have heard of this. I think I watched it when I was really young, but I don't remember anything about it except for mainly the very end of the movie, because there's a twist at the end of the movie. It's called Sleepaway Camp. And it was done in 1983, and it starred Felissa Rose and Jonathan Tiersten. It made about $11 million at the box office. Now, this movie here is basically a parody on the whole, Jason Voorhees, Friday 13th movies, and, the camp, the summer camp that they would stay at. This is basically like a parody on that. But it has a twist at the end. Basically, at the very beginning of the movie, you see some speedboat, some summer camp counselors run over a family at the beginning of the movie. And it kills them all except for one. Right after that, it shows a girl named Angela who's supposed to be the cousin of the family that she's with. Jonathan Tiersten plays her cousin, male cousin, and the mother, the one who's acting as the mother, she's weird. She was strange, and it was terrible. She was a horrible actor. But anyways, she sends them off to summer camp together. They're about the same age. And the whole time that they're at summer camp, the boy, Jonathan, he's trying to protect her because everybody keeps trying to make fun of her because she don't want to talk. She's really quiet. His best friend, he kind of, falls for the girl, he starts really liking her. But he kind of cheats on her with this other girl that Jonathan used to date the previous year or whatever at the summer camp. Now she's all ballooned out, you know, she's past puberty and blah blah blah. And she thinks she's just hot little Miss Tutus, you know. And she causes all kinds of problems. But Jonathan's best friend, he kind of falls for Angela, and he kind of messes around with that other girl, which her name is Judy in the movie, and well, it didn't go well. Angela, you know, saw him like kiss or something, and it didn't go too well over with her, and you know, he's trying to apologize to her. While this is going on, throughout the movie, someone keeps killing people at the camp. You know, first it was the cook, then it was a couple of counselors, and no one can figure out who's doing all the killing. Eventually, though, there's one particular night where everything goes nuts. They start finding bodies and stuff. And then they run across Angela and that boy that liked her. Apparently, she cut his head off, and she's sitting there stroking his head in her lap. When she stands up, it's revealed that Angela is actually a boy. And it's the most freakiest face she does, you know, at the very end. That's why it's so memorable. At the very end, it's kind of a shock scene. Now, they imposed her face over a boy's body because the actress who played Angela was actually a girl. It wasn't a boy. Not in reality, anyway. I actually enjoyed this movie to a degree because it was cheesy and campy, and it was a parody, but I actually got it. But I liked the twist at the end. It was actually a boy, not a girl, who was doing all these killings, trying to get revenge, or in his mind, he was getting revenge for what happened to his sister and his father at the beginning of the movie. It was alright. The acting wasn't bad at all. The acting was decent for the most part. I mean, the girl who played Judy, she was a little over the top, but not too bad. Just a little bit. The mother that sends him off to camp, though, she was horrible. Terrible actress. The rest of them were okay. Anyways, if you like cheesy, campy slasher flicks, and I definitely suggest this one because it has a twist at the end. I actually give it 2 thumbs up. It wasn't bad. Now, both of these movies spawned off sequels. There is a part 2 and 3 to both Slumber Party Massacre and Sleepaway Camp. I may eventually get to them. I don't know. I know usually the sequels are just trash after the first one. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. When it comes to horror flicks, anyway. We'll see. I may get to them eventually. But those are your B-movie flicks. I say give them a try if you like slasher films. They weren't too bad as far as slasher films go. Check them out. I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.